Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Every year at Christmas time, many people look for ways to express a spirit of generosity towards the less fortunate. For several years, Sahuarita Baptist Church has been involved in Project Angel Tree. This is a ministry of prison fellowship that helps provide Christmas gifts for the children of prisoners. And our folks are very good and very generous about assisting with that good cause. And I was wondering one time why folks get all excited about being generous at Christmas time and maybe not at other times of the year. And then I realized that with the coming of the Messiah, that we recognized that that was part of God's nature, to be generous and to care for the less fortunate. The prophet Isaiah was allowed by God to get a good look at what Jesus would be like. In Isaiah chapter 42, verses 1 to 4, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition, he said, "Look at my servant whom I strengthen. He's my chosen one who pleases me. I've put my spirit upon him. He will bring justice to the nations. He will not shout or raise his voice in public. He will not crush the weakest reed or put out a flickering candle. He'll bring justice to all who have been wronged. He will not falter or lose heart until justice prevails throughout the earth. Even distant lands beyond the sea will wait for his instruction." We've always understood that scripture to be a portrait of the Messiah, a recognition of what Jesus is like. He calls him his chosen one and says that he pleases me. How precious it is to recognize that everything about Jesus, especially what he mentions in the next few verses, are things that please God the Father. He says he will bring justice to the nations. To the nations was a key phrase that meant all the non-Jewish nations, all of the non-Israelite people nations, to everybody else out there. And that he would bring justice. Not injustice, not favoritism, not cronyism, not our side gets away with it and your side doesn't, but justice. True, honest justice to the nations. Then one of the most interesting phrases, he says he will not shout or raise his voice in public. How precious that is to recognize that Jesus always had his emotions in check and never lost his temper and shouted in anger, or did not raise his voice in condemnation. That was just not a part of who he was. Soft-spoken and calm and peaceful and in control. How precious it is to recognize that God's people that are trying to be like Jesus should also be those who are not busy shouting in the marketplace, but are quietly, calmly, and in control persuading others. He says he will not crush the weakest reed. If you've ever watched where people walk through somebody's garden and you see all the plants crushed to pieces because they just didn't care. And Jesus does not do that. The weakest, those who are most at need, he does not crush, does not make it worse, does not add insult to injury, does not crush those, does not blow out a flickering candle. If they're struggling, he doesn't make it harder. He makes it easier. He lightens burdens. He does not add to burdens. And he will bring justice to the wronged. How often it is throughout the Old Testament that part of what God does is when that day comes, he brings justice to those who have been wronged and so desperately need justice. In fact, it says he will not falter until justice prevails. So often if you get into dispute with somebody in the courts today, the other side will just see how long they can make you go. And if they keep you going long enough, they think you'll give up. Jesus doesn't do that. He keeps going until justice prevails. Then Isaiah says that the whole world waits for his instructions. The whole world waits to hear what he's got to say. That his message is not just for a select small group of people, but is for the whole world. This Christmas time, every time you see a manger scene, recognize that the baby in the manger has these characteristics of caring for the poor and the distressed and the harmed and the wronged and the hurt. And he brings justice to those who've been wronged, strength to those who are faltering, and lifts up those who are hurting. That's who Jesus is. That's who the baby in the manger is. And that's what we need to do. God bless you.